Hi there, I'm Tony Glynn and welcome along to the PGG Wrighston Stud Tour. Now this week we're at Wairoa on the east coast of the North Island. We're at Cricklewood Angus Stud, that's the home of the Bailey family. Let's go and meet the team. John Bailey here at Cricklewood Stud, Wairoa, on the east coast of the North Island. Where did it all begin, John?
Cricklewood Stud began at Cricklewood Station, which my father owned, and established the stud in 1935. He wanted to do that because he found that Angus cattle outperformed, in his opinion, both Hereford and Shorthorn. He greatly enjoyed his Angus cattle. He had a supervisory role and controlling a number of family stations, which I later inherited that role, and he managed to keep track of the stud very well. One of the previous managers of some note was Sam Cooper, the father of Pat Cooper, who was nationally known as one of the top agents and auctioneers of all time.
Yeah.
And more latterly, for the last 30-something years, we've had Jim Kyle as manager of the stud, and he's devoted himself to that role. And I can remember seeing Jim, who started with us probably 52 years ago on the family block, and then he was later transferred and became head shepherd at Tangi Hau. So we're indebted to people like Sam Cooper and Jim Kyle for their input, their commitment.
Jim Kyle here at the Cricklewood Stud. Which part of the place are we on now, Jim?
Tahanui.
Tahanui.
Tahanui Station.
Yep. And what's your role here, Jim?
Oh, well, manager of the Tahanui Station.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been here for a day or two.
I've been here for quite a day or two.
How many years?
I came here in 1971.
Yeah. Noticed a few changes in the breed at all?
Yes. Yeah, they are. We went into American blood for a while, and that now we've gone back into the New Zealand blood and that.
Yeah.
But they're still breeding good big cattle for the market so that they'll survive on the hills and the droughts and that. They have no trouble.
Yeah. You got some nice looking 2-year-old bulls out there. That fairly good temperament there.
Yes. Yes.
Nice and quiet. You like to keep them quiet?
Yes. Yeah. People like to buy a nice quiet bull.
Whereabouts did you start off working, Jim?
I started off at Tupuna Station for a couple of years. Then I went to Oakary.
Yeah.
And worked there. Then I went back to Tupuna for a short period, married. Then I went to Tangi Hau and then came here in 1971.
Yeah. So you've done a fair bit of work on the other properties.
Yes.
You know what they're looking for when breeding a bull.
Yes.
So those 2-year-old bulls we saw today, they'll go out to Cricklewood and Titiki and...
6 of them will go to the combined bull sale in Gisborne,
yep.
And the balance will go to Titiki and Cricklewood.
Yeah. So Jim, you're on the place here yourself. You got someone giving you a hand here?
Yes, Desmond over there's right hand man,
yep.
And we have Ron.
Yeah. You got two
yes.
guys there.
Yes.
Yep. How many breeding cows have you got here?
We've up till this year we usually have 300 run cattle.
Yep.
Cows. And roughly 120 stud cows.
And what sort of a balance of contour here? Is just sort of half flat? Or?
What have we got? About, I think there's 500 beach, 700 beach country, and we've got 700 acres of flat, and we've got the balance in hill.
Yeah.
And it's a total of 2,000 acres.
Yeah. And how are you enjoying the technology side of things?
Oh, it's a bit hard to keep up with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But making things easier at the same time.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting into it and the genetics and all that.
And get used to it.
Yes.
So introducing new bloodlines into the stud, how does that work?
The stud has bought some 2-year-old heifers and some handful of yearling heifers, and they've been buying very good size for the last few years, well, for years now.
Yeah.
So they're getting the genetics up a bit.
Sourcing those right throughout
Yes.
the country.
Yes.
Dad got involved in showing of animals at Hawke's Bay, Poverty Bay, Wairoa, even exhibited cattle at their show. But we, in my time, we ceased advertising. We went back to basics, still tried to obtain good size, and our principal activity is to breed bulls for our properties, and one of which Humphry is resident on, and Cricklewood Station, of course, itself, which is separated from this particular 2,000 acre property.
Yeah.
It's always hard to buy the numbers of cattle of the type we would like, so we made a conscious decision was made years ago in 1935 to breed them.
Yeah.
The same principles hold. We want to breed sound cattle that'll thrive and perform on steep hill country.
So John, over the years, a lot of work going into sourcing genetics for your stud.
Absolutely. This year, I think we've spent buying bulls, stud size, $74,000 at auction. Spending money doesn't guarantee success, but having money to select the best is valuable.
Yeah.
For us.
So John, you'd have some fairly good men running the properties?
Absolutely, yes. They're capable people, and the man running the place is all important. His commitment, his skill as a stockman is vital.
Yeah.
He's got to be a stockman first, and then a dash good manager as well,
yeah.
of people. He's got to protect the assets of the property, which include the animals. And at Cricklewood, we're fortunate to have Hutton Powdrill, the son of Rick Powdrill of the Turiroa Stud, and he's up there, and so he's got a background in good, basic Angus cattle management,
yeah.
And we're thrilled to bits.
You still get around the properties a bit, John?
Yes, well, I like to. Humphry's doing a considerable amount and doing it well. But that's his background. He understands and relates well to people, and understands the stock and the pasture and so that's really good.
Yeah.
And he puts up with me, and actually looks after me rather too well.
Yeah.
And he'll do a damn good job. He's thoughtful and well focused, steady, and understands the stock and the business well. And he has quiet and focused enthusiasm, which contrasts to grandson Max, whose glass is overflowing and effervescent, and who would very much like to get involved with Angus cattle somewhere, someday, and undoubtedly we will help him with his plan of the future.
Yeah. Where's he, John?
He's at Lincoln,
yeah.
And first year at Lincoln, and of course he was New Zealand. He was beef ambassador this year at Fielding, and. But on the other hand, we've got a Humphrey's son who's much younger than Max, showing considerable interest in livestock and particular interest in cattle. So I think the future's in very interesting hands, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Now you're overseeing the Wairoa blocks, Te Tiki and Cricklewood. What sort of country is it, scope-wise and stock unit-wise?
Well, it's a combined area of about 5,000 stock 5,000 hectares, and we've got a bit over 50,000 stock units, even after the droughts, which have played some havoc on us. We've had a very kind season this season, so that's great to get the country repaired and reseeding to occur, but it's been fantastic right throughout the East Coast, really.
Challenging country here in Poverty Bay, and that's cyclone bowler aside, it's still a challenging part of the country to farm.
Well, it is, because the droughts can knock you around, and we need to breed strong, functional cattle that can recover after droughts, and are sound of feet and that sort of thing. So if they weren't, they wouldn't survive here.
Yeah.
I think we're known for big cattle. We breed quite big bulls with good fleshing and sound constitution, good-footed animals and jaws and that sort of thing. And then eye appraisal is important to us, but we've been backing that up with EBVs more lately, going to more effort with that. But they've got to stand on those hills. If they don't stand on their figures, they've got to stand up there on those hills and be able to clean up those hills, and we still need to get a bullock away. So
Yeah. It's just bloody steep.
that's steep, all right.
Yeah. So have you ever gone away and bought genetics and then got them back here, bought a bull or something from somewhere and come back here and the progeny have crumbled on the hills?
Not so much crumble, but certainly the bulls have.
Yeah.
If they don't work out too well, I mean, you can, with a small stud, you're so vulnerable if something doesn't nick right, and you get a whole family that you've got to get rid of, really.
Yeah. Start again,
which we've done. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You're still using horses quite extensively on all the farms, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Well, it's quite steep hill country, and we have a need for them, and we feel.
Good thing for those young shepherds.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, Sunday we're at the horse sale.
Yes.
What was the story there? About 60 horses for sale there?
Well, they came from extended family blocks,
Yeah.
and they were amalgamated for sale at Cricklewood Station, and they were a surplus of our needs. Currently, three of the properties have brood mares. They produce every year. And
So finishing some of those steers right down there at sea level, right near the beach there, Humphry?
yes, we generally finish about 300 steers down here. We can finish more, but they do very well coming down here. So we can see what the bulls are doing, on the stations, and how the progeny are going. So it's been quite beneficial like that.
Yeah. And where's all the progeny going? All the steers and things all heading to for sale?
Well, often a lot of sold either privately on the property or in the sale yards.
Yeah.
We can't finish everything, so we can't. So they have to go to market, really.
Frank Gordon, you're from Porongahau in Hawke's Bay. You've been a buyer all your life, a stock buyer. You've had quite an association with these guys, haven't you, Frank?
Goes back a long, long way, and it's a fantastic association. I dealt with John Bailey, the present boss, with his father, Humphry Bailey. I'm a bit hazy about the year, but I think it was about 1957. I went to Tungi House Station with a stock agent, Jimmy Choate, who's dead now, and bought 90 big black cows. And that was my first connection with the Baileys, but be millions and millions of dollars worth of stock I bought over the years. And do not run breeding ewes. We run fatten up to 20,000 lambs a year and about 1,300 cattle. Run 700 breeding cows.
Yeah.
Fatten everything. Cattle all go to Greenlee Meats in Hamilton and Morrinsville. I started Alliance off in Hawke's Bay at Danny Burke 8 years ago.
So I bet you wouldn't mind knowing the numbers of cattle that you've put through plants over the years. It'd be quite staggering, wouldn't it, Frank?
Yeah, I suppose it'd be well over 1 million, I suppose.
Yeah. Finding it hard to find those big lines of good cattle, Frank?
They're not there anymore. A lot of the big places, corporates, have bought fattening farms, and they're breeding and fattening. And unlike 15, 20 years ago when you could just pick up tens of thousands of store lambs with a couple of phone calls, they are very difficult to source. I've had one ring in the last 2 months with store lambs. That was 186 out of Wairoa. But unlike today, where we've come and bought nearly 200 Angus steers, very, very hard to do that.
So, Frank, when you're buying cattle to finish, what are you really looking for?
We used to buy exotic cattle once, but like a lot of other people, they've sort of lost their allure, I think, and mainly because of being towy and temperament bad. So predominantly blacks and blacks with white heads. That's all we buy, and we have for quite some years. We run 700 cows, and they're all to black bulls now. And those steers, we sometimes put them off fat now, and they're worth $1,200, but you've got to pay $1,000, $1,100 to replace. So that margin is not good enough, and we've got fabulous cattle, and we winter them, and by Christmas they'll be 350, 360k with the breeding and conformation and whatnot. But even I buy a lot of cattle for clients, like I bought a client today, and these people normally run a lot of Charolais and South Devons and that, but because of the feed, they've got them that big. I killed 2 loads for them last week, 408.9k, and the other load was 410, up to 480k. And those big cuts are very, very hard to market. You take the rumps off a beast like that, there's hardly any slices in the carton. When it arrives around the world at some restaurant, he opens it up, he says, what the hell am I going to do with these? They're far too big. So that's why this boy's here today, to buy black cattle, because I keep working on them. I said, no good producing something the industry doesn't want. Okay, they can get black cattle up to 360 or something too, but it's that 410 to 480 that's a massive problem.
Yeah. So,
no, but having said all that, wanting black cattle and blacks with white heads, well, they're fewer and fewer, hard to find, and you've got to pay extra money for them. And unless you're associated with Angus Pure or something, you don't get it at the other end. But with the demise of cow herds over 50 years, the availability of these sort of cattle behind us is getting very rare. And when you get a quote, you must do something about it, because if this boy had said no today, and there was no way he was going to say no, I had him conditioned, but if he had said no, Ian would have gone to the phone over there and made a phone call, and they'd be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what's happening with this job.
Yeah.
The cattle aren't there. Most yards around the country, particularly in Waikato, 80-90% are Hereford Friesian cross. Well, only a certain number of farmers want those sort of cattle. It's very hard to get the weight, because particularly if they lean towards the Friesian, narrow buttock and that sort of thing, no quality. Got to get quality.
Ian Rosetto here with PGG Wrightston's Cricklewood Stud. You've had a fair bit to do with the properties here, Ian?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough, sort of done the Bailey Group business for the last probably 25 years, I suppose, yeah.
For all the properties?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
And quite a bit to do with the stud stock side of it?
Yeah, well, that's all part and parcel of the job. I mean, it's a major part with the amount of cows that they carry.
Yeah.
So, they do a lot of breeding of their own bulls, obviously. That's the main aim of having the stud, is to save them having to go out and buy a lot of bulls.
So the Bailey properties predominantly breeding bulls for their own use, but recently you had a combined sale at Matafero at Gisborne. How did that go, Ian?
Yeah, in the last 3 years, they've joined the combined sale up in Gisborne, where they put probably the top 8 or so bulls in. The ones that probably got a bit of stud potential. And it's actually started to work quite well in that we've had a few repeat buyers, and that's always a good sign that they're doing all right.
Yeah, the popularity's picking up there. You'll have
Yeah.
more in next year, maybe?
Well, as the stud numbers are increasing, so yes, they are building the numbers up.
Yeah. And on the general stock side of it, also another sale, a steer sale recently you had in Wairoa.
Yeah, we had a sale last week where Cricklewood had a couple of hundred 2-year-old steers in that sold exceptionally well. They were nice cattle. And then next month in September they'll have their 2-year-old heifers and probably about 250 yearling steers. So yeah, big numbers, but quality stock that are well sought after.
So you'd be fairly familiar with the type of cattle that they like.
Yeah, well, John and now Humphry, of course, they're very, very staunch on type. That it's got to be good head and jaw and functional and be able to handle the hills and droughts that we seem to get on the East Coast a lot.
A lot of Angus up here.
Becoming more and more Angus. We went quite a few years ago, went through all the European breeds, the Matalas Charolais, but they've certainly died out. And with the advent of things like Mick Angus and all that, the Angus has really come into its own,
Yeah. John, how do you think things are going on the marketing side with Angus?
I think they're going extremely well. The Angus breed is the most widespread breed in the country, and widespread beef breed, and the Angus Association associated with Angus Pure have done an amazing job and achieved premiums for Angus beef, including the parts of the commercial animals that have to be cut and ground, and that's evident at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And McDonald's even export internationally, which is very helpful to New Zealand suppliers of Angus cattle, and therefore helpful to the stud breeders who sell their bulls.
You've got a little bit more spare time now, John, and you've got a collection, not a teaspoon collection.
Well, no, indeed, and it's not a whiskey collection either, as much as no. It's an interest in carts and wagons, drays, gigs, things of the past, because tractors came in more in the following World War II and probably in the 50s, and they were so quick and convenient, and the old dray went out underneath the tree and the draft horse got pensioned off. Those things rotted down and there was nothing much left, really. So I have attempted to gather these things, and with Jan's encouragement and patience,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that she's smiling or not, but anyhow, we've progressed in earnest once we had a covering structure where we could protect and preserve them, because they'll be lost soon, and there is a history of early farming right around this extended room, I think, and it's a good informal place to meet here with the managers and some advisory people at times, and quite enjoy that as well. And we like to do a bit of old-fashioned camp oven cooking, and maybe I'll have more time for that too.
Yeah.
We love raho, the mountain oysters.
Yes.
Yes, we just love that, and people will travel 100 k's to have that experience, mixed with butter, onion, and everything else that's good.
Sounds good.
You are invited, Tony.
Thank you very much, John.
I think that'd be great.
For more information on the PGG Wrighston Stud Tour, visit ruraltv.co.nz and come and join us on Facebook.